Over the few years I've learned to read, I found that writing is much more difficult, but I've never been daunted by obstacles. I have pencils and paper, although I may not have much time. As I am writing these words, my tale is over. I have fulfilled the final task I've set myself, which has only taken about a month, which has perhaps been the happiest month of my life. As far back as I can recall, I've been in the bunker. Is that what they mean by memories? On the few occasions when the women were willing to share their stories, they talked about events, comings and goings. Men, my memory begins with anger. Jeremy Sutton, PhD of PositivePsychology.org, describes the resilience of the human person after a significant life event. He provides that having a renewed purpose can often strengthen the resolve of those who are already resilient, as well as studies have found that having a clear and valued purpose, as well as committing fully to a mission, can help strengthen one's resilience. In this prose, we can examine the personification of the human being's will to persevere. For although hope may seem to be lost, we always have a way of journeying on. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. I was the youngest when we were locked up. The women had always assumed that amongst the chaos, they threw me in with them and kind of just forgot about me. See, in my stories, there were always things happening. In my life, nothing would ever happen. I thought that this was unfair, and I realize now that then, alone and terrified, anger was the only weapon against the horror. Our conversations followed these lines. Attempts to recall the same information from the beginning is fruitless. Apparently, the woman had awoken to an inner fog, accustomed to the new life in which they led. They'd had husbands, lovers, children. Human beings need to speak. Otherwise, they lose their humanity, as I've realized these past few years. I've no longer seen these women as my enemy, ever since I've earned my place among them, even if all I could do was listen. But this didn't last very long, because suddenly, there was a major event. Now, I must describe this in precise detail, which I find it incredibly difficult because of the shock and amazement around it. It happened just as the guard was opening the hatch to give us our food. One of the guards came out and put a key into the small lock in the small hatch. And at that precise moment, there was a terrifyingly loud noise. The guard dropped the key and turned to face the other guards. He rushed towards them. They all glanced at one another. Then they rushed towards the main exit, flinging the double doors wide open, which they'd never done before, and ran out. They ran out, and for the first time since we women had been imprisoned, we were alone in the bunker. I quickly snapped out of it. I reached forward, thrust my hand between the bars, finished turning the key before pulling it out all together with the whole bunch. I gave the hatch a push. And it opened. I took a step back, clutching my hands, because I was holding the most precious thing in the world. I got a grip on myself, grabbed the bars, thrust myself between the hatch, and finished turning the key to open the gate for the others. The women seemed as if they couldn't comprehend what was going on. "Come on!" I shouted. "Come on out!" I rushed toward the top of the stairs and burrowed out of the door. It was the world. It was daylight. The sky was gray, but not the lifeless gray of the bunker walls. A strange emotion choked me, more precise and exquisite. When the other women all joined me, we silently basked in our freedom. We walked on for years to come, until one day we decided we'd have to stop. I believe they didn't want to think, so as to not comprehend, so as to not face the inevitable. They believed that we would find town, civilization, and I expected never to encounter anything less than the bunkers similar to ours, with those women and, ironically, men who weren't so lucky. And I think the women sensed it. From that moment on, I was fully aware that one day I would be the last. So when I was the last one, I put on my shoes, slung on my rucksack, and headed out. All I had to do was decide which way to go. I walked on for about 2 years before coming across a new bunker, one in the ground, and it was the most luxurious one I'd ever seen. The most precious thing I found in the bunker was paper. Reams of it. And a box of pencils. That is how I was at last able to finish mapping my excursions. The books all helped me. I finished learning how to read and was able to finish my story. I realized that nothing here in the bunker would ever tell me about the incident that led towards my life. But even in the guards' quarters, I don't think I comprehended that so clearly. What if they were in the dark as much as we were? I was electrified by this theory. I could feel my feet begin to dance, and I laughed. I was fully aware that I would only add another question to all the others, but in this absurd world in which I live, it was happiness. Perhaps I am writing for some unknown reader who will probably never come. But if they do, I will have a time in their mind. The reader and I thus mingled will constitute something living. And as long as these sheets of paper covered in my handwriting are on this table, I am a reality.